Right, Bitcoin has hit an all-time high. Whoop-de-doo. Basically what this means is that we've proven the concept. Congratulations to everyone who held in the last cycle, including my parents. And it's difficult to hold in an asset when you're buying at, say, 35, right? It goes all the way up to 69, comes down to 15,500. There's people who thought there was no alternative to Bitcoin who basically sold Bitcoin during that process. Right now, there's obviously reasons to sell. You could be rebalancing, you could just straight up be shitting yourself with the volatility, but really what we've done here is demonstrated to the world that this asset is not going away. And I think the all-time high is going to be a hater breaker number, but it has to solidly close above the all-time high, and that's what I'm waiting for here. That's why I didn't do a video immediately jumping into the all-time high, because I'm waiting for a close, right? Right now, we're all being happy hippies, and that's good, okay, right? We all deserve it after being in this market for 3 years, sort of, waiting for this to sort of swing back to 69K, and that's all great, but the reality is we need a close. We need a daily close above 69,000, and I would say decidedly above 69,000. So really what I'm looking for is a close above, say, 69,500. And that would send a message to the haters that this is basically mission accomplished, and they need to reevaluate. And then, of course, the 100,000 is where we get to the ego-breaking numbers, right? So we got we defeat the haters at 69.5 because the market will take that as a signal that this is going up. And then we defeat egos of people that are too arrogant to decide to invest in Bitcoin at probably $100,000. And then in the interim, we've got the actual inflation-adjusted all-time high, which to me is the true all-time high, and that is around 79,000, right? So this is quite powerful, right? What's going on here, and so I want you to keep an eye on that. We're looking for a daily close above 69,000. There's a lot of happy hippies out there jumping up and down about the price, preaching. You don't realize, right? Like, if it wicks up above and then goes down and stays down for another 4 months, that doesn't mean that we actually, we wicked up above the all-time high. And I don't know if that's how that's really exciting to anyone besides a happy hippie, but there we go. That's where we're at. Now, one of the things that's important to explain here is that this dip that we saw instantly, and I was on a call, and I told the people I was speaking to, I was like, we are going to see some form of dip. Why? Because the people who held at the all-time high or bought at the all-time high last time are probably going to want to rotate their position, and that's what we saw. And I've been saying this for a while. There will be some buyer rotation between 45,000 and 69,000, and that's what we're seeing right now. We're also seeing probably a combination of people who were buying all the way into the run-up of the all-time high. And people say, okay, so what about the people who are buying through the ETFs here? What are they doing? And guess what they're doing? IBIT bought 12,000 Bitcoin yesterday, right? IBIT had $700 million of inflows yesterday during the dip. So when you're telling me that this buyer is not different, because that's the fantasy of these of the Bitcoin bears, the buyers are different this time. They're buying the asset more and more as you morons dip into the market, right? So continue your trading. My philosophy is this dip is necessary and really good for Bitcoin, because if you have any doubt, please sell your Bitcoin right now. Let's just get it over with. What are you talking about? You could only move us down to 61,000. Are you crazy? Before the ETFs, if this amount of selling pressure had dumped onto the market, we would have seen a 30% dip in Bitcoin. Now we moved the price down to 61,000. We're already back to 67. What are we talking about? Nothing. It's like nothing happened yesterday. Almost the whole candle from yesterday has been absolutely erased to the upside. So, all of your sell the news events will be bought up here, right? All of your trading scalps will be eaten, right? And all of your shorting will be reduced to dust. Why? Because these ETFs are powerful beyond the normal trader's mind belief. The normal trader's mind is actually smaller than the normal holder's mind, but even then, it's still sizable enough to try and scalp these little moments and this, that, and the other. Now we're dealing with a buying power here that is grander than anything that you can imagine. It's buying 12,000 Bitcoin, one of them, right? And there's 10 of them. Okay, so we're dealing with forces here that you cannot understand. So keep shorting, keep selling, keep scalping, keep trading, keep doing everything that you want to do, because it's all going to get bought up. And the beautiful thing about it is you might not feel it now, but in a week or two, when there's another sell the news event and no one sells besides you into the market, you're going to wake up to the reality of what's going on here. And that is BlackRock, Fidelity, Bitwise, everyone is trying to buy as much of the most scarcest asset you can find on earth. And they're just trying to hold it. And they're trying to buy it up as fast as they can. While you, being a trader, knowing how the market works, scalping the market, are trying to generate 5 or 10% returns. They're trying to own every single lost Bitcoin that they can get their hands on. And the game right now is not to try and give them exactly what they want. The game right now is to hold on to as much Bitcoin as you can so that your last name can mean something in 30 years. Right now, you're trying to sell into the market, trying to short into the market, trying to scalp the market, trying to do whatever you're trying to do into the market. And these beasts are sucking up that Bitcoin faster than we can imagine, faster than has ever been sucked up before in humanity. In Bitcoin's history, it's never had entities like this sucking up Bitcoin. And so, yeah, these ETFs are too powerful for retail. These ETFs are too powerful for your OG speculators. Look, at the end of the day, you got to kill your heroes, right, at some point in life. So whoever your Bitcoin heroes were, they're going to die. Right? All the people that were telling you about doom and gloom, boomerang, and all this other stuff, they're all just gonna perish. They will perish because they were not right when they were speaking. What they were was I don't know how to say this. Like, they were not right when they were speaking. The message just fit for that moment, right? All of the doom and gloom boomerang goes out the window now. This is a whole new cycle. And if you really want to judge, like, okay, is this a new cycle? Go look at the gold chart. Go look at the gold chart after 2004 and look what happened for 8 years after the gold chart. We basically ran up for 8 years after the ETF was approved, right? And by the way, these ETFs, as they're sucking all this Bitcoin up, and then the next time the dips get shallower and shallower and shallower and shallower, that's gonna serve a powerful lesson to embolden hodling, right? Holding the asset. This is a rotation of ownership, and that's what we want here. We want this ownership to rotate, right? And the saddest thing that I can imagine is that people who have been focused for the last 5 to 10 years get arrogant enough to say, I know how the market works, right? I know how the market works. And so I'm going to trade in and out of this, and I'm going to start selling XYZ position on this day at this time, and for this many months, I'm going to sell this and this, that. You're just an idiot. Because you don't know how the market works, because you've never experienced a market that has had ETFs involved. You've never experienced a market that has made it possible for almost $1 billion to come in one single day. $1 billion net. Bitcoin has never ever seen a market where, like, maybe in the last run on the peak day, there was maybe $1 billion net that came into the market for Bitcoin. This time around, we're almost hitting that right now. Right? On the 6th of March, on the 5th of March, we're almost hitting that right now. And we are so far away from a halving. We are so far away from all these moments that are upcoming for Bitcoin. We've got the halving coming up, we've got the options coming up. We've got so many things coming up here and we have not even started a bull run yet. When FOMO hasn't even started yet. We haven't even started getting retail into it. The Google searches for this asset are absolutely zero. We're hitting an all-time high before the halving. We dipped below the previous all-time high and hit a new cyclical low at 15.5 when we should not have breached 19,000. That should tell us this is going to be a different cycle compared to everything else. So this dip that we're seeing is absolutely necessary and good for Bitcoin. Please, if you have any doubt about your Bitcoin, consider selling it, right? Consider selling it, because we need people that are hodlers here. We need people that are not going to sell into the market just because the market dumps from 66,000, 67,000, 68,000, 69,000 down to 61,000. what are we talking about, right? Like this is not even for ants anymore. Like it's just insulting. You bears can't do any better than this. You bears can't even push the price into the 50s. What are you talking about? What happened? Someone castrate you? We're dealing with castrated bears at this point. But that's how powerful the ETF model is, and that's how powerful the amount of capital flying in through these ETFs is. And soon enough, you're going to see the options market. And I'm going to release a video tomorrow about the monumental impact of options being activated on Bitcoin ETFs. And I want you to subscribe for that, because no one's really talking about this yet. And I want you to subscribe so I can explain to you exactly how and why it will be necessary for market makers themselves to start buying Bitcoin once the options come out, and why that will drive a feedback loop that will drive the price of Bitcoin much higher than what we think. And it may actually impact price predictions for a lot of people that they're not thinking about, right? Once the derivatives markets open up on these ETFs. These ETFs are now worth $50 billion. There's been about $8 billion of net cash inflow. You've got the extra gain and the 30 bill that GBTC started with. We've got ETFs holding $50 billion of Bitcoin. It's unbelievable what's going on here, right? So listen, at the end of the day, this dip is necessary. It's very, very important. We have broken an all-time high, but really, people in this community, right? You and I over here, we should be focused on it daily closing above 69,500, which would be a decided close above the all-time high. All of this BS, all of this trading BS is absolutely irrelevant that's going on right now. Focus on a 69.5 plus close. And that should send a message that should send the price skyrocketing. We may be here for a few days before we break a new all-time high after breaking the all-time high. But once we do that, I believe we'll historically Bitcoin has more than doubled in a matter of weeks and months after breaking the previous all-time high. So we'll see how that pans out. If that does happen, we're looking at $120,000 Bitcoin. $130,000 Bitcoin within a very, very short period of time. But ultimately, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.